marketing is almost like a construction site. It's splintered. There's lots of different departments to erect a building, right? Whether it's, you know, plumbing and carpentry and electricians, and digital marketing is almost the same. You know, you've got SEO, you've got web development, you've got content, you've got Facebook advertising, Google advertising, you know, content production, videos, photos, the list goes on. So rather than trying to build a multi-scale agency that does everything for everybody, you know, there's no niche in that. Very hard to get ahead. And sure, there's big agencies out there that do everything and they do it well, but they've got, you know, a team of 100. And as a small business, I think the way to sort of cut through the clutter in such a saturated environment is to have that niche. So we purely just focus on revenue generating activities online. So every dollar that a client puts in on our channels that we manage for them, you know, we're looking to get at least 2 or 3 times more, and some clients getting 20 times more.
I actually found that all the small ones for us were obviously just a bit too small. They didn't have the capabilities. The big ones, they didn't really give a fuck. You don't know who you're talking to. There's so many people. Just nothing happened. It's cookie cutter approach, and I think the best digital marketing agencies are the boutique agencies of whom understand exactly who their client is.
Yes.
So they've got a niche. Your niche was always Facebook. I mean, if you ask most of the members in CUB, they all know you as king of Facebook ads. That's where I go. So you've got that. Yeah. You've got that title, the Brad Pitt
the Facebook guy.
But yeah, you're the Facebook guy.
Brad Pitt's good.
But people know. Okay, like you need to be known for something. You gotta build, and then you build around that thing. And I think that's what you did so well. And that's why a lot of other digital marketing agencies didn't I guess excel like you did. Yeah. Because who the fuck, they were just the same as every other digital marketing agency.
Yeah, that's so true.
That applies to any industry, right?
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
you're just the same as everyone else. So who gives a shit who you are?
Exactly. And then you can't compete with the big players, you know? And as you say, there's probably hundreds of agencies popping up, but at the end of the day, you know, they're just freelancers. You can whack a website together and call yourself an agency, register it and market yourself online for next to nothing. And, you know, I think there's pros and cons to that. The cons, obviously, it's hard for customers and businesses to pick the right partner. They end up getting burned. The pro, if you are really good in what you do and you've got the credibility, then people will stay with you because they know how hard it is to find the right agency. Strategic partnerships and network are the 2 most important things that have grown our business and myself personally in my career over the past short 3 years is forming those alliances, realizing that you can't do everything. So who can do those things that are complementary to your service to help your customers grow in your own business?
So you're saying strategic partnerships, that's the...
give me an example. You know, so because we just focus on advertising, if someone came to us and say, hey, I want web development or SEO, we've got those strategic partnerships in line to be able to bring them the conversation in with that specialist versus trying to go, just go to an agency that does everything because they're going to end up doing a mediocre job, right? So just like we do advertising, we've got Alexi Neocolis, another CUB member who does copywriting. We've got Studio Hawk that does SEO, another CUB member.
Melbourne member, Jacob
Yep,
Stanley.
that's right. And
good friend
we've
of
got Ucidity, another CUB member that does web development that we refer on to. So we've created these alliances so we don't lose clients if they want everything. We can
What I like about that gets back to what we were saying. You are a specialist. You've got your niche. You know that's my niche. I'm doing that. And
Stay in our lane.
I could grow my business, increase my costs and service these other additional services people need. But instead you're saying, no, we're going to do what we know, what we're the best at, what I know, what I'm the best at. And then for the additional services people need, we're going to have the best possible partners that I know, I trust personally. I've seen their work, they're amazing. And I trust they're going to give my client the best thing. And I think that's a fantastic way to do business.
Absolutely. If you look at what makes a business tick, we mentioned having a point of difference. We mentioned having a niche, right? We mentioned understanding your customer, having the right building blocks in place. So if I get an application through, we ask those necessary questions around what stage of business you're in, what are you currently doing right now, your service, your product, your website. And I think as I said, the key fundamentals to make a fit to I guess market and advertise and then start investing money in advertising, whether it's Facebook or Google, they need to have a point of difference in the market against their competitors. So what is their USP? They need to have a niche. So they need to understand who their customer is and how to reach that customer. They need to have a proven offer. They can't just go, hey, book in for a call. What is their offer? You guys were doing free tours, getting people in, having a look at the CUB house, and then sort of taking through that sales process. So what we like to call a lead magnet or a trigger, and understanding the nerve of that business. And then they need to have, they need to be established enough to be able to convert the traffic or leads we give them. So for e-commerce, they need to have a website that's already ticking along.
It works.
And it's working,
it's
right?
not a piece of shit.
It's not like, hey, I slapped together a website, or I'm on Amazon, can you help me? It's like, no. You need to have a website that's got the data coming through, that's already converting organically to then be able to go and start advertising. Otherwise, it's going to take you a lot of time and you're going to waste a lot of money if you just build a website and start advertising. You need to get the traffic through to that website, right?
And so once those things are there, what are things people should know about digital marketing? How should they manage it? What should they look out for? What should their agencies be giving them on a daily, weekly, monthly, or whatever?
Yeah, I think transparency is key. So we send out reporting every week. We jump on phone calls as much as possible.
It's a weekly report. And what's on that report? What's it measuring?
We look at, so because we're direct response, right? Everything that we do, whether it's on Google, Pinterest, Facebook, programmatic, we can measure $1 to a return. So a KPI is either going to be a lead for a service-based business, or an event registration, or if you're e-commerce, it's a purchase. So e-commerce is particularly more black and white. For every e-commerce brand we work with, we know the return on ad spend, which is ROAS, right?
So what the business needs to be looking at is, so for every $1 I spend with this agency.
Yep. They need to be able to show a return.
How many dollars am I getting?
And if that agency can't track that for you, they're doing something fundamentally wrong. I remember walking down the street, and in our old office, we were neighbours to a gin company. And I remember seeing their billboard when I was living in Paddington. And I saw the billboard and I'm like, oh, how cool would it be to have an alcohol brand? We're social. My family are in hospitality. My dad used to work in nightclubs. We've got pubs in Sydney. My brother works with my family, and it so happened that I've created the agency that I'm sort of doing my own thing. But I said, what could be a cool product to do? And I go, let's start a whiskey label. And I called my brother. He called me back straight away. He's like, in. And then I'm like, you know what? Whiskey's hard to sell. You got to, it's a long process. We don't really know much about it, even though we like drinking it. And then I go, what's easy to sell? What's something that people will drink a lot of? And rosé.
Well, I'll be drinking it. It's my favorite.
We drink rosé every Friday at CUB.
Without a doubt.
That's one of the reasons why I come to CUB every Friday. And I think, we sort of got talking, and we're throwing around names, and we're calling it sort of just personal joke names, let's call it like bitch juice or, this and that. It was just like funny stuff. other names that I won't mention.
Bitch juice. Yuck. That sounds a horrible name for rosé. Thank God you did not call it.
It was just a funny joke right at the start, and then we're calling it other names. I'm not going to mention.
God, thank God you came up with Bondi Rosé.
No. So this is another cool story, right? It's segueing. I'm going to get there eventually.
Something Ali G would call his rosé.
It's like the Fat Jewish, right? He created rosé. He killed it, sold it, and then Post Malone's created another one recently. It's called Mason 9. Anyway, so there's all these rosé companies getting sold for crazy amounts of money. I've been taking up painting over the past 2 years, right? So that's another one of my hobbies, and I guess channels my creativity. Been doing lots of pieces, and I painted. My first painting I did with that in that studio a year and a half ago was Bondi. A picture of Bondi, right? Bondi Beach.
It's so Australia.
And I've just moved to Bondi too. And I'm from Cronulla. And I was sitting in my office, and it was during lockdown. And I'm like, I'm just not settled on any of the names that we've thrown around. And then I'm like, looked at the painting. I'm like, Bondi Rosé. So I went on GoDaddy. It's free. It was BondiRosé.com.
Oh,
and then I'm
God.
like, if we do other wines down the track, let's maybe Bondi Wines. So I looked it up, BondiWines.com, free too.
No.
And then .com.au for both of those too. So we've got Bondi Rosé, which is going to be our first launch of French tasting rosé, Australian made in Hunter Valley.
Made by one of our members, Adele.
Or piggyback. So using her winemaker, but she's helping through the whole process. We're helping her brand as well, market when they're doing really well. But we've got Bondi wine sitting there. So if it is successful, we want to do a Chardonnay or a Pinot or whatever else, champagne, we've got Bondi wine. So there's scalability with the product. Since April 2020, direct-to-consumer wine has 6 times growth. So the industry now is booming. It's sort of at that, like it was sort of plateauing, and then since COVID, because people aren't going into stores as readily, and I think that's not just going to go back to how it was, last year. We're going to continue to consume things online and buy things online, right? So this is what we're going to be doing with Bondi Rosé, is direct to consumer, affordable. Absolutely, mate.
You niched the shit out of it, made it Bondi Rosé. That is like
Yeah.
It's like Conor McGregor is Irish. This rosé is
Proper
from
12.
Bondi. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like it's a very specific. Like no one will forget that ever.
Nah, and this was.
I'm not going to forget piss juice for a while.
Maybe that can be the sister company.
I don't think that should be any company. But Bondi Rosé, and so basically, you're only doing what you already know how to do.
Yeah.
And you've partnered with someone who knows best how to make wine. And so really, you're not actually doing anything new. You're just doing something really, really clever.
We're just reinventing the wheel a little bit, but I think this is one of the things that I've came up with a simple name. We also had a number. You're still going back to bitch juice, aren't you? I'm gonna get just a case bottle with that.
I can picture you and your brother sitting there having a drink, saying, "God, actually, that could work."